Hey, have you ever read a novel that begins with, I was not sorry when my brother died, nor am I apologizing for my callousness? That's how Tsitsi Dangarembga's debut novel, Never's Condition, begins. Hi everyone, I'm Noe and this is AfrificRev Space. Today we'll be reviewing Tsitsi Dangarembga's debut novel, Never's Conditions. Back to that opening. That quote or that sentence immediately introduces the readers to one of the dominant themes in the text, which is the rivalry and tension that brews between siblings. Tambu is happy at her brother's death because his death provides her the opportunity to further her education. She replaces him at the mission school, and then after some time her mind is broadened, and she realizes that her mother's difficulties are not peculiar to her mother because of their poverty, but that every woman in their society, regardless of class or financial status, constantly struggles under the weight of traditional gender structures. In this review, we'll be looking at 3 questions. The first is, why is the title Never's Condition significant? The second is, why does Nyasha break down completely at the end of the text? And the third is, how does the novel explore or show the effects of patriarchy and toxic masculinity in the lives of the female characters? So the first question, that is, why is the title Never's Condition significant? The title is significant. It derives from Jean-Paul Sartre's preface to Frantz Fanon's The Wretched of the Earth, where he talked about the nervous conditions of the natives in the settler colonies. According to him, they have what Webb Du Bois referred to as double consciousness, and that is a situation where somebody has something, their consciousness is split. They have what they want for themselves, how they want to show up in the world, and then they have how their society projects, what the society projects onto them. So the natives in the settler colonies, they had those difficulties. The white people, there's a way they see black people and they project that onto them. And so there's this constant struggle in their consciousness between how they want to live, how they want to show up, and how the white people want them to behave. So when they are not able to strike a balance between what they want and what society projects onto them, then that leads to a nervous breakdown. So Jean-Paul says, the status of the native is a nervous condition introduced and maintained by the settler among colonized people with their consent, end of quote. So in a novel with this kind of feminist orientation, for a novel with this kind of feminist orientation to have that kind of title, it means that some of the colonial structures are still in place, even in post-colonial Zimbabwe. Remember, Zimbabwe got its independence in 1980, and this novel was first published in 1988. So do your math. Now, according to research, during the colonial times, boys were the ones who went to school, and girls remained at home to help with domestic chores. And as time went on, because boys were exposed to the outside world and they had exposure to formal education, they had the competence and knowledge that was needed to work in government offices. And so that created some kind of imbalance in the relationship between boys and girls. And then traditional gender structures also started to get some kind of rigidity. So like, this is a man's job, this is a woman's job. But as that society evolved and girls and women got exposed, when women refused to strictly submit to those gender expectations and roles, there's a clash between them and the men in their lives. So that is what we find in the relationship between Baba Makuru and Nyasha, his daughter. So even on one occasion, he had to like physically beat her. And after that, he regrets it. He has a nervous breakdown, and his daughter also has a nervous breakdown. So this inability to strike a balance between the consciousness that is split is how the title of the novel makes sense. Okay, so the second question is, why does Nyasha completely break down at the end of the text? She completely breaks down at the end of the text because she's not able to strike a balance between what she wants and what her father wants for her. She resents her father for turning her mother into a married house help. And then she tries to assert herself at any point in time. She believes that if she bends even for a minute, that it means that she's giving over her rights to her father. And so her father gets offended when she acts like this, and he feels that his authority as a father is being threatened. However, the other women in the text, they have a way of striking this balance. For instance, Nyasha's mother, she quarrels with her husband and she leaves her marriage for some days and then she returns. When she returns, there's a noticeable shift in her relationship with her husband. In the past, she's not able to speak her mind. She just accepts whatever her husband says. You know, like in a doll's house. She's like a doll in her husband's house. Everything is yes, yes, yes. But when she returns, she reclaims her voice. And even when she says her mind, she speaks her mind, and her husband doesn't like it, he accepts it, he doesn't oppose it anymore. So, but she does not do it all the time. And that is how she gets her peace, and then the man also continues to exercise his authority as the man of the house. But in the case of Nyasha, Nyasha wants to subvert the whole system, and so she becomes an outsider. And when she's not able to succeed, she resorts to hunger strike, and then it affects her bodily and eventually affects her psychologically. You know, if it's in Nigeria, they will say the person don't know, you know. Then the third question is, how does the text show the negative effect of patriarchy and toxic masculinity in the lives of the female characters? Now, there are a lot of examples. The first example is in the relationship between Tambu and her elder brother Namo. Namo gets privileges. His parents feel that his education is worthier than whatever Tambu can get from, you know, Western education. And sometimes Tambu will not do domestic chores, and his parents will just overlook and applaud his high and mighty ways with them. And then that's Namo, sorry. And then Namo also, from time to time, he would remind his sister that she's a second-class citizen in their society and that she should accept the station that society has given to her. So when he dies, it is natural for the girl to be happy because at least his death has provided her with the opportunity to get the education she has always desired. And then the second example is in the relationship between Baba Makuru and Nyasha. Baba Makuru distrusts his daughter, and he has a way of bringing in her femininity into whatever disagreement he has with her. For instance, one of the days she returns from school late because she's studying, and then her father says she has been sinning and flirting with boys. And so when that happens, Tambu remembers her own experiences in her own father's house, and then she begins to think about it, and I quote, "How dreadfully familiar that sin had been with Baba Makuru condemning Nyasha to whoredom, making her a victim of her femaleness, just as I has felt victimized at home in the days when Namo went to school and I grew my maize. The victimization I saw was universal. It didn't depend on poverty, on lack of education, or on tradition. It didn't depend on any of the things I had thought it depended on. Men took it everywhere with them. Even heroes like Baba Makuru did it." End of quote. So in this novel, all the female characters carry original sin that the Baba Makurus of their world must stamp out of them. Somebody like Chido, Nyasha's elder brother, nobody disturbs him. But all the women and girls are constantly under surveillance to ensure that they don't outgrow the men in their lives. So that is a problem. Now the second problem is that my guru is not able to save Nyasha. Nyasha is her only daughter. She has just 2 kids. Nyasha is her only daughter. She stays there and watches as the girl breaks down, and she's not able to talk to her husband to say, like, give her a break, you know. So the girl is destroyed even while her mother is there. And then the second or the third example is in the case of Tambu. Tambu gets a scholarship to attend a reputable Roman Catholic school, but her uncle says no, she will not go. It is a scholarship, but the uncle says that she will not go, that if she goes, she's going to get corrupt. And then the man's wife now says, what do you mean she's going to get corrupt? If the girl is behaving well now, why would the school corrupt her? Allow her to attend the school because this is a scholarship, you know, and she earned it. And so that's how the man allows the thing to happen, and so Tambo escapes that one. So if you look at it, he's really afraid of the future, like this girl might get to a point where she will have autonomy and I will not be able to control her anymore. So that's the fear there. And so in conclusion, The BBC lists this novel as one of the 100 books that has shaped the world. One of the 100 that has shaped the world. So if you have not read this text, pick it up today and find out why it is one of the 100 books that have shaped the world. That has shaped the world. Okay, so thank you. Till next time. Bye-bye.